Hello, everyone. I have got an amazing book to share with you today that's going to help so many. And the author that we have here today is Amie Rule. Welcome, Amie.
Hi, Susan. It's so lovely to be here.
So, the book that we're going to be sharing with you is a great book that is going to help so many. And this book is called Breaking the Rules of Pain. Discover the root cause of chronic pain so you can flourish and grow. So, this is really important. And I want to ask you, firstly, Amie, breaking the rules of pain. Tell me a little bit about the title and why you chose that.
I have lived with different types of pain for probably 2 to 3 decades. And throughout my journey of trying to manage pain, I seeked a number of different alternatives. Numerous practitioners in trying to identify my pain, diagnose it, manage it, resolve it. And it was throughout my journey that I realized that we are very limited with our approach. We often treat pain as simply acute pain and in suppressing and reducing the pain. But when it comes to pain like chronic pain, fibromyalgia, autoimmune, there is a lot of different things happening within the internal body. And this one size fits all model isn't helping numerous individuals that are living with the long-term impact of pain. So I wanted to go in and delve and start to kind of separate all the beliefs that we have around the management of pain, living with pain, the emotions attached to that, which is why I wrote Breaking the Rules of Pain.
That's fabulous because, I think that when someone has been through it themselves and they understand it, and that becomes your expertise because you're delving in trying to find answers for yourself. And I would assume with things like fibromyalgia and all these different things, I don't know whether I said that right, but they're hidden. They're not something where you can see someone has a broken arm or someone is on crutches. It's something that is not seen. Do you find that true when you've got these hidden things that can't be seen on the outside? What's that like and how have you navigated through that?
It is actually really debilitating. And it isn't just the experience of the symptoms that have been debilitating, it's the actual approach. And for many of us, we'll go to the doctor or the GP, and look, this is not judging them, but it's actually probably understanding the background of how they treat pain. So when we go to a doctor or a GP and we present with pain symptoms that follow a certain criteria, it is easy for them to diagnose. When that pain is invisible, not showing up on a diagnostic test, it is subjective because we all experience pain and symptoms differently. It can be really hard for doctors to know. So there were often times where I would present normally, and it was probably because I would put on a bit of a mask, say that I was okay, when in actual fact I wasn't. And so when we feel invisible, we start to take that on energetically, and that starts to impact our emotional body, our mental health, and it flows on to further experience of pain within the body. And I know many people who have invisible illness have talked about feeling invisible, not being recognized, not being acknowledged, not being witnessed. And that is a huge fact when we treat pain.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the experience that you've had, you get to share some of these in the book, but also some ways for people to navigate it. First of all, like, who is this book for? And what are the readers going to get out of this book? Because it could be something they buy for themselves, or it could even be something that they buy for somebody else that they know, a family member or a friend, or to understand more about, say, maybe somebody that's in their family and they're wanting to understand it a little bit more. I know that's lots of people that's for, but would you agree that who this book is for isn't just for the person suffering from these illnesses?
Correct. Without a doubt. Like, we could really narrow it to the people, the 3.2 million people within Australia that experience certain types of chronic pain, but there are even more millions of people who suffer from invisible illness. And it isn't just for those individuals, it is anybody who is experiencing imbalance within their body and want a different approach. And for me, I wrote the book because I wanted to highlight my story, my journey. I wanted to give it a voice that would enable other people to resonate with it. I know the people that have read my book have said, I've heard my story weaved through it, and it's actually validated it. My book is not traditional in the sense that it is simply a self-help book telling you what to do. It is actually a resource where I do delve into what are the limitations surrounding pain, what are the limitations surrounding our approach to pain, how can we start to shake that up a little bit. I've got just enough of the clinical scientific aspects in there, but it's also filled with a lot of self-reflective exercises that all individuals can do. So then they can take ownership within their own approach. I think one of the limitations is that too many of us are seeking a solution. We want to be fixed. So we go to the GP wanting to be fixed. So we go to our acupuncturist who we want to diagnose. And the key thing is that they're just part of our toolkit. These practitioners are experts, and we can leverage a lot of the information that they give us, but we need to derive what resonates with us, what is going to be valuable to our body, and then we integrate that and allow our own body to heal. And that's where the power comes back.
It's like they say, you've got to really be your own doctor. You know your body more than anybody else. And when we get this knowledge and when we go through our own journey, we can be our own doctors. We can figure out what works for us. Would you agree?
Without a doubt. And I think that is it, that we've become quite disconnected to our bodies. And that is partly because of the system that we live in and the way that we've been raised to believe that we need to go to a GP to fix us, or we need to go to a pharmacy, or we need to go and take the drug. And all of those are valid to some extent, but it is our body and its wisdom and the power that resides within that is going to help us heal.
Absolutely. And I know that we're going to have some links here for people to buy the book. It's not just about going to the doctor and getting a pill and another pill and side effects and everything else. And there's a place for it, absolutely. But I think we've got to take that ownership and not give our control out there to others. We need to take back control and understand ourselves. So I love that, breaking the rules of pain. It's breaking the rules of in so many different ways, but you take the reader through their own journey to discovering more, which I absolutely love. And like I mentioned earlier, and you mentioned, this book is for ourselves to understand, but also something that can help us understand what maybe some family members and things are going through when we've especially got these silent things going on that you can't physically see. And that can be quite debilitating because people can't see it, and so they think it might be all in your mind, which must be really hard to navigate through that when you know that you're feeling these things. But you look, of course, so beautiful on the outside. You must be feeling that. And when people have read your book, what's some of the feedback that you've had when sharing your story with others?
I think you touch on a couple of really interesting points. So a lot of people will, when they hear the term fibromyalgia, for example, or any invisible illness, they think it's psychosomatic. And they'll dismiss it like it's all in your head. You've created it. And the funny thing is, what we're learning more and more is that even though it is possibly psychosomatic, the body still feels it, which means that it is real and it is relevant. And I think educating people is so needed. And when we look at, for example, mental health, we often have said to people, it's just all in your head. And when we look at that epidemic, when we look at the chronic pain epidemic, when we look at the bigger issue, we cannot simply say it's just in your head, because it is still very real to the individual.
Absolutely. It's such a good point. It's very real for the person. It's not a matter of just saying, oh, okay, now I don't have it. The body is reacting to that, and it's real pain and it's real
Definitely.
deep sadness. Absolutely. So I think that, but you cover off on a lot in your book for
I
people
do.
to understand it. And I love that because it's educating.
Yes. And it's not just my story. However, I do weave my story. There is a large component of that. And I use myself as a case study and other people as case studies so people can resonate with the story. But then I add the psychology behind that. And then I break that down. So I think one of the things when people read my book, they feel heard and they feel seen. And it gives them the voice and the courage to then speak up. Because I think the thing is, we can look at all the statistics in the world. Like we know that there is such a big issue with the gender pain gap, for example, and women not being heard. And this is very much a historical thing that is embedded deeply in society. But we've got that statistic. Now what? And that's the thing. People are like, okay, when is the change going to happen? And this particular book gives people the authority and the confidence to go, I'm going to take back my power, and this is how I'm going to do it. Whether it's acknowledging what is happening within the internal body, whether it's your approach with how you address particular practitioners, whether it's giving your story a voice.
Absolutely love that. And that's why it's saying discover the root cause of chronic pain so that you can flourish and grow. And I absolutely love that. So is there anything else you want to leave with the listeners today other than I say go and grab the book, share it with friends, get it out there because it really can change someone's life, including your own?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think the biggest thing is when we think about pain and we think about symptoms, we often focus so much on the suffering. And I really want to start to change that up for individuals. We've talked about them being their own medical authority, reclaiming their power. The essence of it is actually living a full life. So living your life regardless of these symptoms. Some people will never be totally free of pain because pain is a signal that's always communicating to us on what we may need to do to address the internal imbalances within our body. If we set that aside, how can we still live and flourish? And that is actually the aim of life. That is what each individual person wants.
Absolutely. I love that. So grab the book, share it with your friends. We thank you so much for trusting us in sharing your message with the world. And we can't wait to see how many people's lives absolutely change from reading your book and having them take back the power.
Amazing. Lovely chatting, Susan.
Thanks so much. Go grab the book. The links are all there. Bye for now.
Bye.